Alrighty, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to season 4, episode 42 of Hit the Books, the podcast all about sports betting, the best bets you should be taking in everything surrounding sports. This week, it's just Ace and I here, but we got lots to look forward to. Your positional rankings in the NFL, a trade here by my Pittsburgh Steelers, NHL trades as well, the free agency opening in the NHL, NBA trades, and does free agency open for the NBA yet?
Yeah, free
It opens
agency.
pretty
Yeah,
quick.
yeah, it has, yeah.
Cool. And then MLB, we got some news here. Shohei Ohtani here making another milestone and more. We'll get to that. But Ace, why don't you get going here this week? What do you got for us?
Yeah, like you said, a lot going on in the sports world. The NHL free agency running rampant. NBA, a lot of deals shifting around, players moving from team to team. Some head scratchers going on in both of those leagues. Like you said, your team making a big wave um, in the NFL. A lot of other teams got a lot going on as well. So we're looking forward to training camp getting going. We have a football game this month, which is pretty exciting. I know it's still a little far their way. We had the Midsummer Classic with the All Star game and the Home Run Derby getting going with some guys already announced there. And then, like you said, some milestones set by those Dodgers out there. It feels like every time we're talking baseball, somebody in the Dodgers is doing something big. But I'm getting ready to talk here this week and got a lot of good stuff to cover.
Heck yeah. Like you said, it's always Dodgers, Dodgers, Dodgers. But let's jump in the NFL here, starting out hot with our positional rankings here for this week. Top 5 wide receivers going into this season. I don't think anybody else sent them, but Ace, what
Yeah,
are you
I
thinking?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot you can choose from. I mean, there's so many guys that pop up year in and year out. So it's like, how do you really go with them? I feel like the first few are pretty automatic. I'm sure ours will be pretty similar in some sorts. But going off the rip, I'm gonna stick true to my guy Justin Jefferson. I know some people are like, Jamar Chase this, Jamar Chase that. When you're down 30 points every game, yeah, you're gonna air the ball out. When you have Joe Barr throwing you the rock instead of Sam Darnold, that helps too. And then he doesn't have as much competition. But Justin Jefferson, the way he gets open, the routes he runs, his run after catch, the athleticism he portrays, and he does it year in and year out. And you always see that stat: most receiving yards, touchdowns, whatever it is. At the certain age, he keeps hitting that mark and he keeps setting those records. Looking like a young Randy Moss over there in Minnesota, and I'm excited to see what he can do with JJ McCarthy. I know a lot of people sleep on him too, but in a Kevin O'Connell offense, I mean, they funnel the ball to him, and I'm just excited to see what he can do this year. I expect even bigger numbers than last year. A little bit of a downturn, and the emergence of Jordan Addison stepped into it, but I got Jettison at one spot. In the two spot, like I said, Jamar Chase, undeniable. Those two you can swap 1 and 2, but they're uncoverable. And look at the amount of 200 plus yard games he puts up, 250-yard games. The touchdowns he has in the big moments too, always killing that AFC North. Those rivals, no matter who you put on to guard him, he's always finding his way to get open. Matchup nightmare. And then after that, that's where it gets a little interesting, right? I'm gonna go with AJ Brown in my 3, coming off the Super Bowl. I mean, that's pretty nice to see. He had a great year. He's uncoverable as well. Yeah, does it help that he has Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith playing on the other side, so you can't really fully funnel the coverage towards him. But I just think he's great. Coming out of Ole Miss, you can't teach size, and the way that he's stepped up in this league, I just can't believe he's been traded already once too. I mean, guys like that, you usually want them to stick around for a while,
Right.
but that guy is just insane.
He's flourished in Philly.
Yeah, and I mean, how can you not with that whole offense? Barkley, Brown, Smith, Hurts, Goddard. I mean, that's a super team. It's like someone's playing Madden Ultimate Team. They added him to the mix, and they're like, "Hey, we got AJ Brown too." It's like, "Oh, good. Who else can you add?" But it's craziness. Coming in also after that, I think I have Nico Collins there. I think I have him in my 4 or 5 spot. You can debate where you put them there, but I'll put him in my 5 spot. I'm gonna go with CD Lamb at the 4. I really like CD Lamb and what he's got going. I know that he's had some tough spots, battled through some injuries, also missing his quarterback and Dak Prescott a couple times the last couple years, but he can even be up there in that conversation. The way he plays is like Justin Jefferson. The run after catch is absurd. The way he gets open, the athleticism, the flashiness, the big playability. He did it in college, and now he's doing it in the pros too. And he's playing in the biggest market to do it too. Now he gets a little bit more receiver help on the outside with Pickens. I'm excited to see how that duo does. Maybe they'll free him up even more to put up those astronomical numbers. But those top four, they're right there. And then I got Nico Collins in my 5. I know a lot of people could say Puka Nakua. I really like him. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill, all great receivers. But I'm going to go with Nico Collins. I think that coming off of injury, he looked really good stepping back in that Texans offense, and he's just a threat that can't be covered. The size, the speed, CJ Stroud, the connection he has with him. I'm expecting big things from that Texans team this year, and Nico Collins is going to lead the way. Especially, let's not forget, he has to do it this year without Stephon Diggs, without Tank Dell, who were by his side last year. So big year upcoming for him. I expect a lot of touchdowns. A guy you can't cover in the red zone, but that's my top 5 there: Jefferson, Chase, Brown, Lamb, Nico Collins. We'll get into yours real quick, but I have some other guys I think could break out and maybe push for those top 5 spots next year.
Yeah, we have very similar lists. I mean, just different orders. Like I have AJ Brown at the top of my list. I just think
Wow.
he
The
it,
size.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, honestly. And then I have Jefferson and then I have Chase. Just Jefferson's been in the conversation to be the best. I don't know. I mean, these guys, like you said, these guys are all pretty
You're nitpicking nothing right here, you know?
exactly, right. And then I have Amon Ra at 4 and Puka at 5.
Yeah, the numbers the 2 of them put up, I mean, Puka Nacua is a
Mhm.
target hog. He overtook Cooper Kupp, who was one
Yeah,
of the best receivers in the NFL a few years ago, forced him out of town, and now he's got Devontae Adams playing second fiddle to him in a Sean
yeah,
McVay
that's
offense with Matt Stafford slinging him the rock. I mean, he's undeniable, and the way they scheme the ball too is pretty crazy. They run a lot of end arounds with him. They'll throw it to him short, deep, whatever it is, and he jumped onto the scene, wasn't projected top pick. All these other guys we mentioned, let's not forget, those are early picks in the NFL draft, all first rounders. Maybe not AJ Brown actually wasn't as highly picked as Jefferson and Chase or Lamb, but yeah, talking about Puka Nacua, the way he jumped on the scene. Then Amon-Ra St. Brown, I like that pick. I mean, personally think he's a beneficiary of the great offense. I'd go with CeeDee Lamb over him. I think he's a top end talent, but Amon-Ra's numbers he's putting up year in and year out, very consistent, very tough, makes the gritty catches. He's really the beating drum of that offense. Maybe that blue hair and those first down trademarks might have gotten you too. But
might have something to do with it.
besides that, like those guys I said, perennial superstar, Mike Evans. I mean, that guy's a lock for 1,010 every year. And the fact they're still doing it at his age is pretty crazy. I think he's a walking Hall of Famer. Tyreek Hill, it's crazy that neither of us have him in our top 5 anymore. I don't know if that's more so because he's not a top 5 receiver anymore or because he's on the Miami Dolphins with Tua Tagovailoa throwing him the ball.
Yeah,
The
just hasn't
injuries
had the
and
opportunities.
yeah, just a weird spot from the B, and then let's not forget at the end of last year with all the social media antics he pulled trying to get his way out, and now he's all back in on the Dolphins. I would like to see him somewhere else personally. I don't know about you, but I think that Tyreek, we will see him play in another jersey, maybe even back in a Kansas City Chiefs jersey. I was waiting for that announcement. It might come one day. Um, one more note I want to get in here before we jump off of our top receivers. Kind of talked about this last few times we've done some rankings. Guys that could maybe break out heading into the next year. I really think those year 2 receivers in the NFL, that draft class last year was stacked for every position. So I said this with the quarterbacks. I'll say it with wide receivers too. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has a good opportunity to supersede his year last year and maybe jump up very highly. Super highly touted prospect. Put on a bunch of weight and muscle coming into the year, and the connection he had with Kyler Murray was undeniable. Fully healthy season, we could see his numbers jump heavily. Malik Neighbors, I mean, that guy's a target hog, and when he gets the ball in his hands, he's unstoppable, and he looked great there with bad quarterbacks over on the New York Giants. Brian Thomas Jr., we know how good he is with Trevor Lawrence. Maybe the Travis Hunter draft pick could hinder his numbers a little bit, but I still think he's a really good receiver. And then, of course, Lab McConkey over there in LA too. I mean, he just kind of took over as the number one when nobody wanted to be with Harbaugh and Herbert. So a lot of good guys in the league. We're not even mentioning guys like McLaurin, bunch of other names. I'm expecting my guy Stephon Diggs to ball out again. I don't think he's anywhere near the top 10, but Devontae Smith, we talked about AJ Brown. I mean, Devontae Smith, if he was on his own team, how high would he be up these rankings? So a lot of names to think about. Your guy DK Metcalf, your old guy George
Yeah,
Pickens. I think they're somewhere in that 10 to 20 range, however you want to spin it. But
I'd say
the r
so.
the wide receiver room in the NFL right now is just crazy with talent, so I think it's probably the most evolving system, and then look at some of the guys we have in college coming up. They're gonna be right here knocking at the top 5 door. Jeremiah Smith, shouting him out. I mean, he just won the national championship as a freshman. He's already the top receiver, so they're gonna keep coming, and the life on these guys' skill position is usually pretty short, but the guys at the top of the list, I expect them to be there for a few more years.
Heck yeah, absolutely. Lots of great stuff here. Our top 5 wide receivers coming into this year's season. Definitely more on that. I don't know exactly what's next week, but another position here next week. We got a trade here, though, involving my Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins here on Monday that involved 3 different players, 2 draft picks. Steelers are sending Minka Fitzpatrick and a draft pick to Miami in exchange for both Jonnu Smith, Jalen Ramsey, and a draft pick. What are you thinking about this one here, Ace?
Yeah, I'm pretty depressed that Huff isn't here this week to debate with because you're realistic Steelers fans there. Huff is drinking the Kool-Aid. I don't know what they're putting in the water over there, but he is buying into the retirement home. You brought in Aaron Rodgers, you brought in Darius Slay, a bunch of 30 plus year old guys, Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey. Do I think this is a good trade for the Steelers? Yeah, probably. I mean, is it crazy over the top? Who really wins this one? I don't really know. I think both these guys are past their prime in Minka Fitzpatrick and Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, they're both great players. They're both going to have highlight reel plays like interceptions or some big stops or whatnot. Jalen Ramsey's going to be talking trash too. Luckily, he has DK Metcalf on his team this time, so he doesn't have to do that to him. But I just think those guys are a little bit slower at a position that's so tough, especially cornerback, where you need all that speed, regardless of who you brought in. That top receiver, number 3 receiver, wherever we put him, Jamar Chase, is gonna cook whoever it is on the outside. So, obviously, guys like that, but when you're getting down the depth chart, I kinda said the same thing with the Ravens bringing in Jair Alexander. It's never a bad thing to bring in a former Pro Bowler, top number 1 ranked cornerback in the league. When we get to our quarterback rankings in a few weeks, I'm eager to see if maybe Huff throws him in his top 5. I mean, last year, we were going with some of those young guys. Maybe now that he's wearing the black and yellow, that he might throw him back up there, but I think he's gonna fit that defense well, the loudmouth, talking trash, he's athletic still for his age, and he's a force to be reckoned with, and that's something that puts it into the back of a quarterback's mind is Jalen Ramsey's over there, maybe I'm just not gonna target him as much. The Jonnu Smith trade, interesting one to me. I liked what you guys had going at tight end. You have Pat Freiermuth, you have Washington that you drafted, and then you go out and get a 30-plus-year-old tight end to come in who historically hasn't been that great. He looked really good in the Miami offense, and isn't that Mike McDaniel's plan is to funnel the ball out quick through the middle of the field? So you would think Jonnu Smith would jump up. So maybe the Dolphins knew that this was the time to move on from him. Now they're immediately in a tight end trade market. Kind of just makes me think maybe they're selling high on him. You guys bought him at his peak. I remember a few years ago when he left Tennessee after his big year with the Titans, he came to my team. I was super excited. Did nothing. Flat, flat, flat. And I kind of compare this Steelers offense to a little bit of my Patriots of years past, in between that Brady era where you didn't really know what was going on. So I don't know if he's going to be the juggernaut to get the beat going, but it's a good pickup. I'm just surprised Jono didn't go to a contender. Um, but this new look Steelers offense is definitely something. It's very different than what we've seen before. You got Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Warren, you got the rookie running back with him, Jonnu, DK Metcalf, and I guess Robert Woods or um, maybe Roman Wilson on the outside to jump up with them. But that defense on paper, it looks good. It's just how healthy can it really be at that age? Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey, will they be on the field? It's a big question. But let me know your thoughts on your hometown team making some big moves.
I mean, it's fun to see some different significant
Superstars.
names coming in the organization. It's cool, it's different, but like you said, we're like the Steelers are taking after the Pittsburgh Penguins in having, the oldest
Dinosaurs out there.
yeah, the oldest average age of any team.
Mhm.
Like, and I don't really understand it, um, because I don't think we're necessarily at that win now moment. Like,
Yep.
can win now, we're one piece away type
Mhm.
deal. Um, it's not like we're getting these guys on, like, crazy great deals either. They're not
Yeah, and they're
bad
not
deals,
super
but they're
short term either, right?
right, right.
Yeah, so you
So
you have some age in your pocket. Another thing that worries me a little bit is I just don't I'm with you. I don't think this is the direction the Steelers want to be in. I
right,
hated saying that as a Patriots fan, and then we just opted into it and we bought in. We were bad for a few years, and now we actually have some interesting young guys moving up, going on. But the Steelers are in that spot where they just can't let go of it. It's the Mike Tomlin, I need to be around 500. I need to be competitive and stay in the mix. And
and I guess
relinquish this fan base for
this gets them to be quote unquote competitive.
yeah, when
You know
there's
what I
no
mean?
real future, there's no real sights on a championship or even a division title. And the crazy thing is, it really looked like they were about to turn the page on this whole chapter. It looked like they were about to move on from Pickens, who was a problem. They were about to move on from TJ Watt, who was their superstar, to bring in a boatload of stuff, clear up some money, and have a good future. Looked like they were going to go with the young guy for a year, maybe not necessarily tank, but just play the youth they have, then
Right.
gear up for a big draft and offseason next year. Then they turn the page and they're like, nope, let's go with Aaron Rodgers. Personally, my prediction for the Steelers is I know it's not a favored one for our Yinzer listeners out there, probably catch some flack for this. I could see a situation where Aaron Rodgers starts for about 6 to 8 weeks and either gets injured, something controversial, ends up sitting out. Steelers are still kind of in the mix, not dead yet. They play Mason Rudolph, who I would have went with as a starter this year. I don't think Mason Rudolph's too far off from Aaron Rodgers at this age, which might sound like a crazy take, but I really don't think it is. He's a serviceable backup that has starting experience. He's got a pretty big arm. I think he's gonna be a little bridge, give you until, like, 4 games until you're officially out, and then they end the year with Will Howard just to see what he's got in there before they move the full chains, but I think this has gotta be the last stop for Aaron Rodgers.
It has to be. I
Uh
mean, he said it on McAfee's show, I know that, but I think it has to be. Like, I don't
And
think
he
he
it's not like he's joining a cakewalk. He joined
Right.
the ultimate situation with the New York Jets. He had all of the gadgets and the pieces, his people on the sidelines, a loaded up defense. Now he's going to a team that's in the mix for the playoffs, but it's a very tough division with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. Like you're going toe to toe with some of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, some of the top teams in the league. So I'm eager to see how this all pans out. It's a very interesting story to unfold. If there's anybody that can piece it all together, it would be Mike Tomlin, who is in our top 5 coaches or historic coaches. He's one of the youngest to win a Super Bowl. I know if you look at some of his playoff stats and wins outside of that run, it's a little shaky, but the record speaks for itself. He gets people to play competitive, buy into the system, and like playing there. So it'll be something interesting to watch, but I still think they're a couple of years away and need to at some point hit the reset button.
Absolutely, yeah. Lots of good stuff here out of the NFL. Steelers and Dolphins making a big trade. Our positional rankings here each and every week, so make sure you stay tuned for all of that and more news out of the NFL. But we're going to jump into the NHL here. We got lots of stuff to go over. First up, we got some trades before we get to the free agency news that is happening just about everywhere. Toronto Maple Leafs, Golden Knights pulled off a big trade on June 30th, sending the rights to Mitch Marner to Vegas, who will sign a 8-year, $96 million deal, according to reports. The Golden Knights are sending forward Nicholas Roy to the Maple Leafs. Any thoughts on this first one, Ace?
Yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind, people are like, "Oh my god, the Maple Leafs got fleeced." No, they really didn't because in reality, they should have gotten nothing back for this return. He should just hit free agency like the rest of them. So it's nice of them to scoop that up. We knew they weren't bringing back the hometown kid in Mitch Marner when he was getting booed off the ice in the Stanley Cup playoffs last year when he had yet another letdown season with that core four that they finally decided to blow up in Toronto. No points really in the playoffs. He hasn't been a big playoff producer, but who really has? I think it's the Toronto market. A lot of people saying, is Mitch Marner worth $12 million? Yes, yes, he is. If you watch hockey, you know he's worth it. He's young, he's got the skill, and I think his playoff success will come around, and going to Vegas is the perfect place to do it. I mean, this team just brings in superstar after superstar ever since they've been entered into the league. They got Jack Eichel, they got Tomas Hertl, they got Petrangelo. The list goes on and on. I mean, now they add a guy like Mitch Marner to the mix. They're right back in there in the Stanley Cup conversation, one of the best teams in the West, and he's going to help out tremendously. And Toronto fans are going to hate seeing how good he is not in their uniform. That being said, they couldn't pay everybody, so we knew they had to move on from somebody. And at least you get him out of the East, you don't really have to worry about him too much. But I'm excited to see Mitchy Marner can finally be a fan of him too, not playing on my rival Maple Leafs. So I think he's going to absolutely light it up, similar to the way Jack Eichel moved into the scene. And kudos to that Vegas organization for
That
getting
Vegas
another
organization
deal
is
done.
just doing it right.
Every year, they're just finding the right pieces. I don't know how they end up with all these superstars. They're always in the mix, a new franchise, and they've never really had a bad team to date. So it's crazy. Good kudos to them. I'm excited to see it.
Heck yeah, that's a great one here. We've got two coming out of Detroit. The Red Wings made their second trade in several days, sending forward Vladimir Tarasenko to the Minnesota Wild on June 30th. The early acquired goalie John Gibson from the Anaheim Ducks. Another one here with the Red Wings. They signed veteran forward Patrick Kane to a one-year contract extension worth $3 million. The club announced Monday night. The deal allows Kane to avoid unrestricted free agency Tuesday and keeps the right wing of the franchise trying to make a strong push for the playoffs in a clogged Eastern Conference. Any thoughts on the Detroit Red Wings and what they're up to?
Yeah, interesting team the Detroit Red Wings are. I mean, they've rebuilt pretty well. They have lot of young superstars, Raymond and Larkin and Sider, a bunch of other good names out there I like. I know, but keeping Patrick Kane, that just kind of tells me he didn't want to play anywhere else. So I think he could have gotten more money or a longer term on the open market. So good re-signing there, and it looks like he's found a little home there after playing most of his time in Chicago, now close by in Detroit. The Tarasenko trade, think they could have gotten a little bit more. That guy's been bouncing around the league left and right ever since he won the cup with the St. Louis Blues. Can't really seem to find his footing. But going to Minnesota, that's a great spot for him to land. A team that was really good to start the year, solid in the regular season, then bounced in the first round of the playoffs. I think they'll be right back there as they get healthy. But John Gibson, acquiring him, very interesting move. A guy that was kind of stuck on the island over there in Anaheim. And now they have that young guy, Dostal, on the net, who looks like an absolute stud, ready to take over. It's about time they moved on from him. Shout out to Detroit for getting him in and really shoring up their goaltending issues because guys they had like Lyon and Mrazek weren't ever really the answer. But I'm gonna give a shout out to the Edmonton Oilers. How did you not get in on this guy, John Gibson? Some of these teams that are so goalie needy, the Pittsburgh Penguins, so many teams that are right there, like the Detroit Red Wings. I mean, the Oilers are a lot closer than them. Penguins maybe a little bit behind them. I don't know. They could be ahead of them, but in future terms, Gibson's a guy that I would look at if I was goalie needy. I think it was an easy trigger to pull. He was once the best American goaltender in the world, and I still think he has a lot left in the tank. Goalies age like fine wine in the NHL. But Sergei Bobrovsky is showing us that right now. But I think that's a good move to get him. And shout out to Gibby for getting out of Anaheim, reclaiming a starting job, and looking at a chance to get back to the playoffs.
So Ace, Patrick Kane, 36 years old. How many more years do you think he's got in the tank? I mean, just signing a 1-year deal here,
The way he looks
a
on the
1-year
ice,
extension rather. So
yeah, the way he looks on the ice looks like he could play more, but it seems like it's all going to depend on how he plays. I think he's got at least two left. I don't think this is his last ride. I feel like he's one of those guys that when he signs for his last one, he's going to let everybody know this is my last one. Kind of
it's
like
my last
Flurry.
ride.
Yeah, like Flurry here, where you
Yeah,
get everybody's gonna throw him his flowers on his last season because he deserves it. I mean, that dynasty he put together, one of the best American players of all time.
nice player. He was never a dirty asshole. Like,
I'm surprised he went and played for the Rangers, right? Now he's playing for the Red Wings. I
you know,
think that 1-year deal kind of leaves him with that flexibility because we don't really know what Detroit's gonna give us. They look like they're on the up and up, but if they end up going back down the drains and they don't trust the Yzer plan, then maybe he gets out of there and plays the last year somewhere else.
gonna say it
Uh,
goes back to Chicago for a home run.
or maybe he goes down to Florida and
Yeah,
win a cup like
yeah,
everybody else
right.
on a
Literally
cheap
like
deal
everybody else.
too. I mean, that's a guy you look at, but I see a guy like Patrick King getting paid $3 million. I'm like, wow, I wish he hit the open market. That's someone I'd like to add to my middle six for the Boston Bruins, add him
Right.
to your second power play unit. He does it all. He adds the offensive upside. So shout out to them getting it done. But I think Kaner's probably got 2 to 3 years left. And then shout out to his boy Johnny T's making a little comeback too.
Yeah, going home to Winnipeg. That's a good one. We talked about that one briefly last week. Um, but signing a nice friendly deal there, which is nice to see. So maybe he'll head over there and hang out with him. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe they go
Truthfully,
down
like I
at
agree
one
with you.
point, they gotta go down south when they're a little bit older though, right?
I
Like, I
think
think.
you're right.
Yeah,
I
get
think
out of
you're
the
right.
cold.
All right, let's jump into some free agency news here. It started this past Tuesday, July 1st. Some big signings happening across the league, and we want to cover them here for you. Starting out with the Anaheim Ducks. They're a team on the rise that aims to make the postseason run next season. On Tuesday, they signed center Mikael Grunlund to a 3-year deal that would carry a $7 million annual average value. You want to comment on this one? If you
Yeah.
don't want to, you can just say that, and I'll just keep reading. But
Yeah, we'll keep it quick here. I mean, Mikael Granlund, what a year he put on last year. I mean, he kind of bounced around the league, had a good career, always been a star player, I would say, just under the radar of being a superstar, top six forward, finds his way on power plays. He played on that young Sharks team with the Macklin Celebrini, really came into his own, and they sold him off and got more assets like they should have. Went on a nice cup run with the Dallas Stars, but mixed in, he played for that Finnish team that really stood out in that Four Nations tournament. He was one of the top guys that got the job done. So he just showcased his talent in every opportunity he was giving, putting pucks in the net in every situation, playing all three positions. Kudos to him for going out there to Anaheim. Now he gets to go play with some more young talent. So I'm eager to see if that team can really put it together. But Mikael Granlund, that's one I wanted my guys to get. But a great signing, great opportunity, and not too much money.
yeah, I was going to say that's not terrible for him. I like
Yeah.
that. All right, moving forward here, the Buffalo Sabres are adding some goaltending depth by bringing in a veteran netminder, Leon Lyon, on a 2-year deal that carried $1.5 million cap hit annually. So cheap price for him, I think.
Yeah, I mean, not a bad backup. We saw him play in the playoffs a couple years ago, but I think it's really Devin Levy's net there. That's the guy in Buffalo. So they get a short up goalie behind him. They also have UPL up there in Buffalo too. So, I mean, that's an interesting goalie room, but that's just some depth signing.
I'm with that here. Islanders up next here. They could use an infusion of offense, and Jonathan Drouin could provide that on a 2-year deal worth $8 million. Not a bad one here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they just had that top draft pick and they traded away Noah Dobson too. So they're looking to get more offensive. A team that was really a one player offense with Matty Barzal led with a bunch of grinders really on that Islanders roster. I think Druin would have done better off going somewhere else, but he just went and cup chased with his best friend Nathan McKinnon on the Colorado Avalanche. So maybe he's like, maybe it's my time to go get paid, go out on the island, be a star player, maybe get on that power play. Nice left shot to add to the mix with Matty Barzal was the right shot. So we'll see. Kind of replacing that Brock Nelson spot of some skill up there in New York. You know, they're desperately needing it. So he's going to be a top six player for them.
Heck yeah. And Brad Marchand, your boy, the veteran left winger who joined the team after a late season trade from the Boston Bruins in March, has agreed to a 6 year, $31.5 million extension with the Panthers. Going to be putting him at 43 years old when this contract's on.
Yeah, I don't think he plays the extension of that contract. I think he retires as a Florida Panther maybe in the 40-41 season, the age season. But I
It's
mean,
more than fair to say, too. He's had a
yeah.
great career. That's a big deal.
And the surgeries he's gone through too. I mean, last summer he had double hip surgery or something like that 2 summers ago. So, I mean, the way he plays, the tenacity he has, it's crazy how good he looked on that Panthers team. But if there was ever a place to play for him, it would be there where you can play third line minutes, get the perfect matchup, and not be relied upon like you were in Boston to A, lead the team, and B, produce a ton of offense. Whatever he gives them is gravy on top of what they already have with the superstars down there. And oh yeah, let's not forget you're playing down in South Florida, probably one of the best spots to play. Playing a classic Tom Brady move here. I'm gonna play my heart out for the Northeast and create my legacy. And then now I'm gonna go enjoy my golden years on a super team and take my chances at as many rings as I can get. Already got one, and he's staying on a $5.25 million deal. If the Bruins knew he would have signed for that cheap, I bet you he'd still be in the black and gold. But at the time, he was looking at about a $6.5 million deal. But we definitely weren't giving him a 6 year contract with the way our team was trending. But this Panthers team, man, they're just making the right moves left and right, and Brad Marchand's a perfect fit with that group.
Yeah, I like this deal. It's a good deal, but it is a long one. 6 years is a long time.
Yeah, he won't be finishing that one out.
All right, New York Rangers continuing a reshape of their roster on Tuesday night, dealing veteran defenseman Keandre Miller to the Carolina Hurricanes. In return, the Metropolitan Division rival Hurricanes have acquired a 2026 first and second round pick. So not too much to say there. Mackey's Rangers just kind of trying to make some moves here. We'll see if we see their name pop up anywhere else.
Yeah, so Keandre Miller, I mean, what a crazy piece to be moved for the New York Rangers, a team that I really thought was keeping that core together, but they couldn't really find any success. Now think about it, they moved on from Truba, who was the captain, moved on from Miller, another piece of the defensive core. I know they have Fox, and I don't know if we've gotten to it yet. We're gonna get to the Gavrikov signing too, so it's kind of the replacement for him. But Miller put up great numbers there. Looked like a great player who is only coming into his own. I think he's gonna keep excelling as a defenseman in this league. And the Carolina Hurricanes add another great piece. I mean, that defensive core is already really strong. They have guys like Jacob Slavin, the top lockdown defenseman that we saw in the Four Nations tournament for Team USA. They have Brent Burns, Dmitry Orlov. I mean, the list goes on and on. Gostisbehere. Now you add Keandre Miller to an 8 year deal. That's one of the big fish they've been looking to get. They were trying to get one with Rantanen. They're trying to get one with other pieces, but now they bring in this piece with only a first and a second. Hard to find defensemen of that size with that amount of skill. Great move for the Carolina Hurricanes. Kind of a head scratcher for the Rangers, but they're looking to the future a little bit and hoping that they have what back there is good enough already in the mix.
Heck yeah, not a bad one there. Um, Getting the job done for sure. But Gavrikov signed a 7 year, $49
Gavrikov.
million contract with the Rangers on Tuesday, an average annual value of $7 million. The 29-year-old defenseman was an unrestricted free agent. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, he was just dealt at the deadline a couple years ago from Columbus, and he went out west, and everybody he was the big fish on the market. Everybody really was talking up how good he was. He looked good playing out there. Now he gets a massive payday, 7 by 7, to go to the New York Rangers, the biggest market you could play in potentially. And he's going to be a help a lockdown force on that blue line. I believe he's a left shot, so with Adam Fox on the right side, it's a good little mix they have there. And Igor Shesterkin is quickly going to become a good friend with him. But those teams out west, they spent their money elsewhere. The New York Rangers decided to heavily invest into his future. And 7 by 7 for a guy of that caliber, as the salary cap rises, it'll only look better and better as time goes on, as long as he stays a strong defensive defenseman who also aged pretty
I
well.
agree. One more quick point here for our players. The Panthers are running it back next season with all 12 of the forwards they used in the clinching game, the Stanley Cup Finals, under contract for next season, and in many cases, long beyond. What are your thoughts on that? Them just keeping the same roster, running it back, doing it again, seeing what happens.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about that crazy deal they pulled off with Brad Marchand and them pulling all the right levers year in and year out to really create this dynasty. No team in the NHL has gone back to back to back. They were one of the few that has gone back to back. I think there's only a few franchises that have been able to complete that task, both in Florida for the most recent two, which is crazy. But they keep everybody around. I mean, we all thought Bennett was out. We thought Ekblad was out. We thought Marchand was out. They kept them all. The only guy who left was on the back end. Nate Schmidt ended up getting a nice deal with the Utah Mammoths. Pretty cool name. But The Florida Panthers, I mean, it's just crazy. They brought back Nosek too. They're even bringing back the depth. I mean, if you're ever going for a three-peat, it hasn't looked like anybody's even come close to being able to stop him. We saw the best player in the world and his wingman not even be able to come close to take him down with home ice advantage. Everybody's on the contract mostly through 2030. They're doing all the right things. You might as well ride it out as long as you can. Yeah, later when this dynasty's done, you might be like, oh, if we have some old guys on big contracts, we don't have our picks left. But that's not what they're worried about. They're worried about winning right now, and that's what you need to do when you have a dynasty. Saw my Patriots do it. We saw the Lightning do it. Saw the Penguins do it. The Blackhawks. All these teams. When you're in that spot, you take advantage of it. And if there was ever a team that's loaded up for a three-peat, I mean, with all these moves we talked about, nobody looks like they've put together a roster that's as deep as skilled as this Florida Panthers one, or even as nasty as. And they have the experience now winning their last 11 playoff series in a row. I still don't know how anybody's going to put them out in a playoff series of 7 games. And they just have their formula written down perfectly. And they're like, we're here, come and take it now. And I don't know if anybody can step up to the challenge. But that organization, man, started with the ownership, started with the GMs. Now they got Paul Maurice in. That worked out very well. And now they had that core 12 together for another year. And who let's not forget, a few years ago, we could have turned the tide on that Panthers team. My Boston Bruins had them down 3-1 their first year they went to the cup and ended up losing the Vegas Golden Knights. But they ended up getting the Brad Marchand breakaway in game 5, who went and scored in the Stanley Cup Finals for these Panthers now on the breakaway. Couldn't do it then against Bobrovsky. They bought into the Florida Panthers mentality, brought into Paul Maurice, one of the best coaches in the league, potentially in history, who didn't even play hockey himself. And now that system is what it is, and it's only getting better and better. Um, those old guys, they're going to keep doing their thing in lesser roles. And then they have some young guys that are still getting better and finding their game too. So I mean, not saying I'm excited to see them because I definitely want to see someone take them out, but I mean, it's crazy to not admit that this is a fun group to watch.
Heck yeah. Panthers definitely got it going on, to say the least. Dynasty, got to go for it. Got to keep pushing. And if that they think that's their best mode of transport, I say go for it. One more point here out of the NHL. The Dallas Stars have reached deep into their past and searched for the correct voice to guide them forward, hiring Glenn, I don't know how to say his last name, Galutston, as their new head coach on Tuesday, more than a decade after his first run behind their bench. I knew when I saw this name that I've seen it before. I just didn't know where, and then I figured out it was for the Stars as well.
Yeah, I believe he was
Yes.
also on the Edmonton Oilers staff as an assistant, so he has a background of working with high-end skill when you have the likes of Mikko Rantanen, Tyler Seguin, Jason Robertson, Wyatt Johnston, who are some of those other names? Thomas Harley, Miro Heiskanen, Rupe Hintz, Jake Ottinger. We knew they had to find someone. All the big fish came off the market because they decided to fire their coach pretty late. But I think with this group, it's not really a coaching thing. Maybe he can turn the tide because DeBoer got him to Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, which they always find themselves in. I just think it's someone that knows the system, knows how to work with skilled players, and get the most out of them. This team will be right back there in the mix. I think they have one of the best rosters in the league. I think if they were able to make the Stanley Cup, they would have given a better series to the Florida Panthers than the Edmonton Oilers did, but they still have to be able to beat 97, had to be able to take down those Vegas Golden Knights who brought in Mitch Marner. So the tall task ahead of them, but I expect this Dallas Stars team to have a very successful season next year in his first year as a head coach and potentially make their crack at the Stanley Cup. I know they're due, and it's coming at some point.
Heck yeah. Definitely.
What a last point. What a situation to walk into as well. Look at all these head coaches that came in. I mean, you had to go to the Bruins, or you had to go to the Kraken or the Rangers. A lot of turmoil in all those places. You come into a Dallas Stars team that's fully loaded with superstar talent throughout the lineup. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a dream
Good
scenario.
organization definitely is on the rise, if you will. Alrighty, that's going to wrap up everything we have here in the NHL for today for this week. Tons of stuff going on in the free agency trades, pickups, all that jazz. So make sure you stay tuned for next week when we continue our discussion in that realm. Jumping over the NBA here, though, we only got 1 point. The Milwaukee Bucks shocked the basketball world Tuesday by waiving 9-time All-Star guard Damian Lillard to make room for signing a free agent center Miles Turner. This seems to upset Giannis. What are your thoughts on this ace, and where does Dame go next?
Yeah, I mean, I saw that Giannis was pretty hyped when they brought in Miles Turner. He probably didn't know that meant the departure of Damian Lillard. I would be hyped if I brought in Miles Turner too. He just went to the finals and he looked great, joining the mix. Another big guy to take the load off of him and open up that coverage. scorer too, who's been in the league for a while, a certified professional. But then you went and lost the guy that you really brought in. That was their big chip piece they brought in. They went and got Damian Lillard to play with Giannis Antetokounmpo. And now you're like kick rocks after you just get an injury. So it's pretty crazy to see a guy of that caliber be kind of written off. And let's not forget they're eating most of his salary too, over 100 million. So I saw some reports that the Boston Celtics could be interested in bringing Dame back on a cheap deal too. I mean, imagine him coming back and guiding the team while Tatum's on the brink. And then when he comes back, it's a super team right there. Eager to see where Dame goes, though. Maybe the Golden State Warriors. I heard they were also in talks with them. They were in talks with a few people for different things. I always thought they'd bring in LeBron James to play with Steph Curry, but that's just fantasy land thinking as a basketball fan. But I don't know where Dame ends up. I think it's going to be on a good team, though. I could see the Celtics, I could see the Warriors. I don't think he really goes to anybody rebuilding or a young team like the Rockets. It's going to have certified veterans where you can go play with them and not be the guy, but be a guy on the roster. Meanwhile, the Bucks, very crazy transition in their roster. Let's not forget during the middle of the season they brought in Kyle Kuzma and let Chris Middleton go. Now they're letting Damian Lillard go. So they're trying to find the right formula, let their coaching staff go as well. A couple other quick notes in the NBA that we didn't have written down right before we started the podcast. There's actually a big one. The Lakers brought in DeAndre Ayton on a 1 year deal with a second-year player option. A team that was desperately lacking a big. We saw that in the playoffs as they got taken out. Former first round pick, I believe number one overall pick also. So it's a pretty cheap deal, $12 million. I mean, there's got to be some incentives, the second year player option, but he can definitely exceed that value and give them big minutes. Another one there, the New York Knicks signed a head coach finally. I believe it's Mike Brown, former coach of the year 2 times, maybe. Um, Champion of the NBA too. I believe he might have coached the Milwaukee Bucks when Giannis got his ring. But they brought in Mike Brown for the New York Knicks, so we knew it was going to be somebody. I saw there's talks. They were talking to the college basketball coach for the women's South Carolina team, storied coach who coached on Team USA and whatnot. But they ended up going with a very distinct Mike Brown. That's a good one to bring in, a veteran coach. So we like to see that. A bunch of other minor moves going throughout the league. We saw all the Hawks gain a bunch of new people to add to their team with Trey Young to try and make a little run. We've seen the Magic load up a little bit. We've seen the Rockets do so as well, obviously with Kevin Durant. But there's a lot of other moves. The Clippers are grabbing people. Celtics added a few pieces, but I'm waiting for that next big splash to come. And I think it's going to be Damian Lillard. So we'll keep our eyes out and definitely keep you guys in loop as
Heck
we
yeah,
hear
you
more.
said it well, Ace. Thank you. Definitely keep your eyes out for anything that's happening in the NBA by listening to us every week on Wednesday nights. Well, I guess we release Thursday mornings now. All right, let's jump over to the MLB here. Starting out with our power rankings here for this week. Coming in at number 5, the Milwaukee Brewers. At number 4, the Philadelphia Phillies. Number 3, the Houston Astros. Number 2, the Detroit Tigers. And number 1, those Los Angeles Dodgers that we will have some chat about here shortly. What are your thoughts on our power rankings here this week, Ace?
Yeah, Dodgers, I mean, automatic to be in that one spot. They should be there all year long, regardless if they're up and down with their recent play, but the roster's insane. They're getting healthier and healthier. Talking about some of the teams that are new to the mix, I mean, what about those Milwaukee Brewers? They've been really good, and they keep calling up these young guys, too, that keep popping on the scene. That highlight reel Jackson Merrill catch the other day. But I think the big one is Jacob Mizorowski. I mean, we saw the Miz take on the Paul Skeens and the two young guys duel. He beat him head to head. He's barely allowing any hits, barely allowing any runs, and he's as advertised as one of the top prospects in the league. And guess what? They're bringing up more and more young guys to this Brewers team too that can really hit the ball. They have a good mix of veterans. They have Terang over there. They have Yelich. I'm happy to see this team really come together. Contreras looking good. We know how good um, not Merrill, what's his name over there? Churio is too. So this team's really strong over there in a weaker division too. So they're definitely gonna hold their own. Expect the Brewers to maybe not be in the top 5, but definitely be in the mix and get to the playoffs. They have a lot of talent around them too. Chad Patrick stepping up at the pitching realm. They have Peralta, Woodruff's coming back. Got a good closer in Migo. So I like what the Brewers have going on. Always a sneaky, sneaky team. Someone you don't think about when you hear about the top of the leagues, but they're always right there. The Detroit Tigers, we've been beating their drum all year. I mean, they deserve to be in the power rankings of how good they are. Their pitching staff is so deep. They're getting Reese Olson back here soon, too. I think they're going to make a big splash before the trade deadline. Maybe bring in someone like Marcell Ozuna, maybe Alex Bregman. They're going to get another big bat to add to that team, a veteran bat, because this team's so young and it's exceeding expectations. And oh, yeah, Tariq Skubal could push for the MVP. Definitely going to push for that Cy Young. One of the best pitchers we've seen in a long, long time. The Houston Astros, meanwhile, that's a team a lot of people wrote off. I know Mackey and Huff are saying, I don't know how they're going to stick around. People like the Mariners this year, obviously, with that pitching staff. The Rangers are always right there. But this Houston Astros team just knows how to win games. Hunter Brown, complete absolute dog. Jeremy Pena having a career year, played high school ball in Rhode Island too, so shout out to him. But he's should be an all-star starter. Second in WAR in the MLB behind Aaron Judge, tied with Cal Raleigh, the big dumper, who leads the league with 36 home runs. So Pena is really stepping up to the plate. Altuve, position change from second base to outfield, still finding it and getting it done. Christian Walker's turning around a little bit. They got Yerner Diaz, Cam Smith, a big piece of the Kyle Tucker trade, starting to turn it up. They had Wesneski, he's on the shelf. Framber Valdez looks really good. There's a lot of good things going on there. Some young guys like Gordon and Gusto stepping up to pitch for him as well. So they're going to get some more guys back off the injured list, and this team's going to make a strong run. They still got Josh Hader closing things down in the ninth inning. I like this Astros team. It's a team you don't want to see in the playoffs. They have veteran experience led by Jose Altuve. I know they like the trash cans being banged, but this Astros team can really put some juice into anybody and take it to them when they need to. So expect them to keep rising. A couple other teams that just missed our rankings this week. The Mets have been slipping and sliding a little bit. We saw how great their pitching staff was at the beginning of the year, and now that ERA continues to blow up as there's been injuries to Senga and Megill, Canning now on the shelf. I don't know how long until they dip into the young pitchers they have down there in the minors, but they got some good guys ready and waiting to go in the minor league. So I hope they give them a shot here soon. Also getting some reinforcements to the likes of Manea, um, and I believe there's another one coming back from injury too, escaping my mind right now. But that Met staff is really got to turn it around if they want to get in the mix because Soto's hitting the ball, Alonso's hitting the ball, Lindor's hitting the ball. You got to be able to pitch the ball too. The Phillies getting a little bit healthier, getting Bryce Harper back. That's nice to see. Without him for a while, the Cubs have been a great team. Matthew Boyd really stepping up in Shota Imanaga's absence. And the bats have been hot. Pete Crow Armstrong and Kyle Tucker could both push for All-Star game nominees um, and MVP nominees as well. A couple other teams I like out there. The Padres are playing good baseball. They just shut down the Phillies again today, so that was nice to see. In the AL, in the NL, funny story. Your Buccos, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Miami Marlins have been on absolute fire. Who would have
Makes
seen
no
that coming?
sense.
Not me, but yeah, I mean, they're just deciding to win games when it doesn't matter. But hey, shout out to them. Mitch Keller's finally starting to win games. He's been pitching great all year, but he has to shut them out to do so. I think he had through another shutout today. But the Marlins, ever since the Panthers lifted the cup in the NHL, they went on a tear. They went out west and swept their whole road trip. I think they're 9-2 since the cup was lifted down in South Florida. So maybe they're feeling that juice. They have some young bats though. Let's not forget those trades they made last year. They're one of the kings of trading players before they expire and bringing in some top prospects. Kyle Stowers showing out. Augustin Ramirez showing out at the catcher position. They got Yuri Perez back in the mix. Yeah, they lost Max Meyer for the year. They're probably going to get a nice haul for Sandy Alcantara, who's turned it around a little bit, one of their older pitchers there. So we know they're going to add more prospects to the mix. But this young team is starting to turn it up. And my guy Xavier Edwards, still without a home run down there, starting shortstop, but he's a base stealer and he's a really good player on that team too. So I like what they have cooking up. Meanwhile, the Braves just got back Jerickson Profar tonight. It's first games in 82 games after being suspended for HGH, making his debut. I think they might make a move. They want to move on from Marcell Ozuna, who's been playing through injury. He was a big piece of their championship runs, playoff runs, big power bat, but he's headed down the year playing through a groin injury instead of taking an injured stint. But with Acuna, Profar, and Ozuna back in the mix, you got Matt Olson in the lineup, Ozzy Albies, Michael Taylor. It's a lot of faces there, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them make another move. They just DFA'd Alex Verdugo to make room for him. Spencer Strider's back in the mix, doing his thing, pitching well. I know I said Ronald Acuna before, but he's putting up MVP type numbers. Ever since that first pitch back from his ACL tear with a home run, he's been on absolute fire, batting above 300, home runs left and right. That guy is the real deal. Any other teams that I'm trying to think of come to mind? They've been playing good baseball. Um, no, I think that about covers it. A lot of good stuff going on. The Giants would like to see them turn it up a little bit more after getting Rafael Devers not doing too much. Our Red Sox not doing too much. Maybe they can turn the tide and get back in the playoff mix. But yeah, a lot of the good stuff going on in the MLB. I know we got some good
Heck yeah, a
headlines to
couple
cover
good
too.
headlines here after our power rankings here. Shohei Ohtani reached 30 home runs for the fifth straight season, hitting a fourth inning drive after fouling a pitch off the plate umpire. And the Los Angeles Dodgers beat the Chicago White Sox 6-1 on Tuesday night. What are your thoughts on that one here before we get into another point about the Dodgers?
Yeah, in a quick sense, as expected, we knew this was going to happen. 30 home runs is nothing to him. Some guys have career years when they hit a 30 home run season, and it's craziness. He did it before the month of July, or as the month of July basically started. So he did it so quickly. Reigning home run champ in the NL. And let's not forget, he's doing it while he's rehabbing his pitching right now. Some people might be throwing some flack at him saying, "Oh, he's only going 1 inning, 2 innings." Yeah, because you can't afford to have him on a rehab stint in the minor leagues, or else you lose the best bat in baseball. I'm putting him ahead of Aaron Judge because I'm biased, but you can't afford to have him go on a true rehab stint in the minor leagues and pitch. The fact that he's working back from Tommy John surgery, shoulder surgery, arm surgery, whatever it was, and he's able to hit 30 home runs while he's working through that is nuts. Let's not forget he threw over 100 miles an hour in every start so far. Throwing 101.6, I think he hit on the gun. That's crazy to see. But this guy keeps going. One thing, if you guys have noticed as Otani fans, not stealing any more bases, probably trying to keep that longevity and make sure he doesn't ruin anything for the pitching part of the game too. But we're going to see him in the Midsummer Classic and another 30 home run season so early on. I wonder how many he finishes with. You think he hits the 60 home run mark this
60?
year?
I mean, he's on track, isn't he? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, he's on track. He's at
Maybe.
30
I
already.
mean,
Yeah.
I could see it.
Yep. There's a lot of good totals this year. We talk about him with 30. Cal Raleigh sitting at 36. Obviously, that's an outlier compared to normal years. He has potential to hit the most before the All-Star break out of anybody ever, which would be pretty cool. Aaron Judge is up there with 30 plus home runs. Kyle Schwarber, I didn't realize he was that high. He's at like
Gee.
26. A few other guys sitting up there as well. So a lot of juice in the ball. You know, it's crazy. They said this is the year of the dead
Right.
ball too. They said that for some reason they didn't make the baseballs correctly and they don't have time to fix the manufacturing. So it's a dead ball year, but these guys are still putting up over 30 bombs in only a couple months of baseball. So we got enough pop to
I
not be
think you're
worried
right.
about it.
Yeah, I think you're right here. Another point here out of the Dodgers world. Clayton Kershaw is on the brink of a major milestone, needing just 3 strikeouts to reach 3,000 for his career. Kershaw pitching tonight against the White Sox at home when we're recording this Wednesday night. What are you thinking about that one, Ace?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely getting that one tonight against the worst team in baseball. Or I guess not the worst with the Rockies around anymore. But Clayton Kershaw, the king, I've been a fan with him of him since forever. I mean, I remember watching him as a kid. He's been in so many big moments. He's had the Cy Youngs and the All Stars and the World Series, and he just came off the injured list, and he's like 4-0 since he's done that with a very low ERA too. I believe it's below 3. Guy's been pitching gems lately, throwing quality starts, big innings, not allowing many runs. Yeah, he's a different type of pitcher. He's pitching two contact, pitching two spots, not what we're used to seeing from him when he had that big sweeping curveball that would get people to strike out on that 12-6 curve that would drop right down. But he's got enough nifty stuff. He's a veteran presence. He knows how to get outs. That's all that matters. When you have a lineup like the Los Angeles Dodgers behind you, you can pitch confidently, and he's still showing that he can do it at an old age. So love to see him coming back this way, looking much better than Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, two of the other old guys that are still chucking it to this day. But he's getting to 3,000. Kudos to him for a great career. He's got all the accolades, and this is just another one to add to the bag.
Lots of good stuff there out of the MLB. One more point here. The MLB All-Star Game is less than 2 weeks away, and we're pumped here for the Home Run Derby, so make sure to stay tuned for any and all picks from us on that. Anything else out of the MLB, Ace?
No, I just can't wait to see the rest of the guys they put into the derby. We actually got some big names this year, Ronnie Acuna, Cal Raleigh. So we'll definitely be filling out some brackets for that. The All-Star game brackets looking good. I'm just loving the baseball right now. Also, did you see that cool quote? I didn't know if it was true or not. It could be some fake news. But of Paul Skeens saying when he's done with baseball, he wants to go serve in the military for his country. I mean, that's awesome. What an American right there, Paul
I
Skeens
did
is.
hear that, and then I heard something that he said he wants to cut grass for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna be pitching till he's at least,
Right.
like, 37 anyway, so I don't think he's doing anything too crazy after. He's got Livy Dunn at home, probably gonna have a few kids by that point, so who knows what the future holds for him. Maybe a few wins in his record and a better than
I would
500
like to
record,
see
that'd be
that for
nice.
him.
Can start
I
there.
really would.
You would like to see him in the
Of
Pittsburgh
course.
jersey for a while too. I don't know if you're going to, but I know that's on the hopes.
Sadly out of my control.
Yep. Make sure you relish those moments, go there, see him in person while you can.
Heck yeah. All right, that's just gonna about do it for us here this week. Anything else to add for Ace before we get out of here?
No, just some great UFC fights I watched last week too, so I'll just throw it on for you. I mean, Ilya Topuria becoming two-time champion, taking out Charles Oliveira. That was pretty sick to see. Sets up some really cool fights in the future. Either he stays in that division, defends his belt, or he takes on Islam Makhachev, who is also a two-time belt holder, and they face off for the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Paddy Pimblett's been running his mouth. Also in the world of fighting, I don't know if you saw Jake Paul got ranked too in the
Did
boxing
he?
world. It's kind of crazy to me. He's ranked, yeah, he's ranked like 14th, so he can contest and challenge for championships now. Like, I mean, I like to kind of shit on him, mess with him a lot. I know a lot of people do, but gotta give credit where credit's due. It's pretty cool that he came all this way and he's actually become a legitimate boxer. I mean, a guy with his size, skill, money, and time, I mean, how can you not get to that point? But pretty cool to see that journey, unfold.
Alrighty. Well, that's all we got here this week. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We'll see y'all next week. We got lots of good stuff out of the NHL with free agency trades happening, NBA free agency. But that's all I got. See you guys next week.